Good morning, all. I'm Steve Cesatura, an energy efficiency consultant at Eversource for large commercial and industrial customers. For today's agenda, I'll be presenting some of the benefits of strategic partnerships with your utility companies, but primarily we'll focus on the what, the why, and the how of technical assistance studies. I'll start today's session with the initial agenda topic, strategic partnerships with your utilities. A multifaceted approach for unique needs of the customer. Diversity of solutions. A multifaceted approach means that we can tailor solutions to the specific challenges faced by commercial and industrial C&I customers, ensuring that we assist them in addressing their energy consumption and operational needs. A holistic integration. By integrating various aspects of energy efficiency, such as technology upgrades, behavioral changes, and operational best practices, we can create comprehensive strategies that yield better results. Adaptive strategies. Each business is different. Our ability to adapt solutions based on unique business requirements allows us to effectively meet the diverse needs of stakeholders across the different verticals. Collaborative engagement. We engage with commercial industrial customers collaboratively to understand their specific needs, fostering an environment of partnership and shared goals for energy efficiency and sustainability. Utility companies' expertise in energy efficiency. We have the resource. Utility companies offer extensive programs designed to encourage energy efficiency, giving your organization access to tools and resources that otherwise would require significant investment. Proven best practices. With years of experience in implementing successful energy efficiency programs, utility companies can offer insights and best practices that enhance the effectiveness of your initiatives. Data-driven insight. Utilizing data analytics provided by utility companies helps in prioritizing your energy efficiency projects that deliver the most significant impact for your organization. A reduced learning curve. Partnering with utility companies accelerates program development by leveraging their experience, thereby reducing the initial barriers to implementing energy efficient programs. Access to incentive and funding opportunities. Financial support. Our collaboration offers organizations avenues to access various incentive and funding opportunities, significantly reducing upfront costs associated with energy efficiency projects. Project viability. With access to funding, organizations can undertake larger and more innovative projects that might otherwise be deemed unfeasible due to budget constraints. Long-term savings. Taking advantage of available incentives can lead to substantial long-term savings on energy bills, which can be redirected to other operational areas within your business. Stimulating investment. These funding opportunities not only support operational efficiency, but also foster a culture of innovation and investment in sustainable practices within your organization. Strategic partnership for sustainability. Aligning your values. Our strategic partnership allows your organization to align its operational practices within your long-term sustainability goals, reinforcing the shared commitment to environmental stewardship. Strengthening your CSR initiatives. By integrating energy efficiency into your operations, we enhance the effectiveness of your corporate social responsibility initiatives, demonstrating a commitment to sustainability. Risk mitigation. The partnership focuses on sustainability, can help mitigate risks associated with regulatory compliance, resource scarcity, and reputational damage tied to environmental impacts. And engagement with stakeholders. Collaborating with strategic partners that share sustainability goals can enhance engagement with your stakeholders, including customers, employees, and investors who increasingly prioritize sustainability with their choices. I hope that this gave some better understanding of how you can benefit from a strategic partnership with your local utilities. At this time, I'll pass the session over to Jeremy Blanchard, who will, for his introduction and informative topic on technical assistance studies. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. So first off, I'll give an introduction to myself first. Jeremy Blanchard, Senior Project Manager with GDS Associates. We are one of Eversource's preferred engineering vendors, as well as supporting other utilities in the NHSaves program. So today we're going to talk about TA studies, which is a great segue from strategic partnerships, as we do a lot of TA studies for customers that have strategic partnerships. So first off, what are TA studies? They're meant to be a detailed, comprehensive study covering one or more beyond lighting measures. The beyond lighting is an important part because TA studies are meant to drive more complex measures. Lighting is typically handled through other program avenues. They're typically co-funded by the customer. We want the customer to have some skin in the game. It tends to be a minor investment relative to project cost and paybacks. And it does require detailed calculations and turnkey costs to provide to the utility to be eligible for an incentive. TA studies can include metering, data logging, trend data, lots of information and data gathering to substantiate the baseline and model the energy savings of the proposed measures. So we'll start with some example measures just to give you a flavor of the type of things that are in a TA study. So first off, hot water and steam boilers can be an aspect of a TA study if they include large optimization measures. If it's just a direct replacement, if you're replacing a boiler, those are typically going to be outside of a TA study. Chiller plants is another great opportunity for optimization and controls, free cooling, and other more complex measures. Again, just direct replacement of a chiller is going to be outside of a TA study. Energy management systems. This tends to be a huge focus, at least for GDS and the program for TA studies. There's a lot of opportunities with energy management systems. They tend to be a little bit more complicated and are ideally suited for a TA study where the TA vendor can go in, understand the existing system, identify new sequences of operation, return the system to its original design intent, while also focusing on adapting the system for the existing building. Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning is a pretty broad topic, but includes essentially all of your HVAC equipment, heat recovery, everything outside of boilers, chillers, and controls. Oftentimes, these can be a complex, comprehensive project that would be ideally suited for a TA study. Other times, if it's just a one-for-one replacement of a piece of equipment, may not be suited for a TA study application. Building envelopes, if you're doing a complex building envelope upgrade, could be ideal for a TA study where you're doing blower door testing and IR imaging and really driving your envelope performance. Chilled water, hot water, and steam distribution. Most of those are going to be outside of TA studies, like your typical steam traps and pipe insulation. But there could be opportunities if it was a large, complex project. Motors and drives. If you're doing a complex controls project with VFDs and implementing turn down on pumping and airflow, it could be an opportunity to include in a TA study. If you're just doing a simple VFD installation, that could be handled through other programmatic means. Refrigeration is a great opportunity in many facilities, typically outside of TA studies. The utilities have some really great turnkey partners that can support this measure. Distributed generation is a great opportunity that could be evaluated through a TA study, including both on-site generation, combined heat and power, and so forth. Energy-related process improvements is a really fascinating one. It's a real focus of ours and an exciting area that we do a lot of work in manufacturing and process facilities. There's a lot of opportunity in these facilities. Anything from improving the process to automating, integrating VFDs, process chilled water optimization, you name it. These customers tend to use a lot of energy and are great opportunities for a deep dive TA study. So why bother with a TA study? What's the value add to the customer? Well, the biggest one is that it helps customers to define the technical scope, the cost, and the energy savings. If it's a straightforward project, the customer can submit a custom application with a cost quote and their energy savings, and go off and do that sort of self-directed. However, if it's a retro commissioning project where the customer doesn't have time and staffing to really dive into the existing system, that's a great opportunity for a TA study, where the customer really needs support defining the scope, cost, energy savings, or a combination thereof. It also allows you to develop multi-year capital projects because a TA study can be comprehensive, can include 10 measures, where the customer can pick to implement measures 1, 2, and 3 this year, 3, 4, and 5 next year, and so on. TA studies do require detailed energy analysis to meet the programmatic needs. So if the customer doesn't have in-house energy engineering capability or their contractor doesn't provide that service, another justification for a TA study. And then on the utility program side, TA studies help to drive projects that help meet the program savings goals. And TA studies really are intended for large projects that have typically a higher cost, high savings, but are still cost effective, good paybacks that justify the customer's investment in the study. So let's step back and look at the overall process for project development. One key area that we like to focus on is identifying the opportunities. That's really first and foremost helping customers to know where's their energy going, what kind of opportunities exist in the building. And there's several avenues that you can identify opportunities. The customer can find them, contractors can find them, and there's also a technical resource offered by the program called a scoping study, which I think is really important, and that can help to drive opportunities, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then once you've identified the opportunities, then comes the time to develop that project. And that's where the TA study comes in. And then as I talked about as well, there's opportunities for doing a more streamlined approach of, submitting a custom application or a prescriptive application. So that's more of a streamlined project development. And then implementing. That's ultimately the goal of the program, is to implement projects. So that's where the customer can select the scope, provide cost and savings, and get an incentive offer from the utility. An important takeaway is that the NHSaves program is here to support customers at each of these junctures. So for example, a scoping study, which is in that first step of the process where we're looking to identify opportunities, is really important. It's intended for customers that haven't really engaged in the program in the past or need help to identify opportunities. It includes a high-level on-site walkthrough. The goal of a scoping study is to identify energy conservation measures, get the customer excited and engaged about the opportunities in their facilities, sit down, discuss those opportunities with them, and define next steps. And one of those next steps could be a TA study, or it could be a self-directed project where the customer just runs with it on their own. So as an example, showing a scoping study example, this is a manufacturing customer with complex HVAC equipment. They're interested in carbon reduction and energy efficiency. They've got corporate goals to reduce carbon. 142,000 square foot industrial facility. They've got a lot of equipment, including water-cooled process and HVAC chillers, boilers, 25 large air handlers, several process lines, and nearly 600 kW of fans. It was the busiest roof that we've ever been on. There was just fans everywhere. The customer had already completed a lot of the low-hanging measures like LED lighting, and they were really focused on how could we improve our process, our energy management system, and our HVAC. So what came out of the scoping study were 5 priority measures and then 14 additional measures. So A scoping study typically is in a memo or a short report format where you highlight cost and savings for the top 5 measures, sort of what you expect the customer to do first. But since it's meant to be comprehensive, can also include additional measures with either just sort of summary descriptions and maybe payback ranges that can be either more complicated that need further development or things that the customer should think about in the future. So I'm not going to dive into each of these in detail, but just want to show sort of the magnitude here. A pretty high cost, $800,000, pretty high electric and natural gas savings, but overall a really decent payback. And at the scoping study range, these are very high level numbers, very high level calculations, and what you're really focused on is the payback. Are there opportunities in the facility that are going to drive, short enough paybacks that the customer is going to be interested? And this customer was interested, and they really needed support to develop these measures and others. So a TA study is currently underway. This TA study included metering of their various process lines. A lot of those fans and process heaters were metered, and that TA study is going to be wrapped up in the next month or so. So turning our attention back to TA studies, again, scoping studies are really meant to be a high-level technical resource for identifying measures that then can transition into a TA study where you're developing turnkey costs, turnkey savings, and so forth. So how do we do that? Well, it first starts with an application and a proposal for pre-approval. Your TA vendor would reach out to the utility with a proposal. You may reach out to the utilities if you don't have a preferred vendor, and they can provide vendors for you, and you may choose your own vendor as long as the utility provides approval. TA studies typically start off with an introduction and a kickoff meeting, and then a subsequent site visit and engineering work where you're identifying a comprehensive opportunity based on the customer's interest. And that's really important. TA studies are a partnership between the customer and the utility, where the TA vendor is working with the customer to identify, what are your interests? What are your pain points? What do you need to focus on? Are you more focused on carbon reduction, or are you focused on cost-effective energy efficiency measures? And then you dig in, you do the work, right? You do the engineering work, you deliver a report. The program requires transparent energy analysis, so spreadsheets. You provide equipment specifications, quotes, and then a minimum requirements document, which is essentially a document that identifies what information would be necessary after the project is completed. The utility can perform what's called a post-inspection, and that minimum requirements document is what outlines what would be collected during that inspection. It's a really important document. The utility would then review and approve the TA study, and then the customer would then pick from the list of measures to submit a custom application. So for example, if the TA study has 10 measures, the customer can say, I want to do measures 2, 3, and 4. They would then submit a custom application working collaboratively with the utility to then get an incentive offer for each of those measures. They then complete the work and the incentive is delivered. And again, there's a opportunity for a post-inspection prior to the incentive check being delivered. So let's give a quick example of a TA study example. So this is a different facility than the scoping study example I mentioned. So this is a large electronics manufacturing facility. We have a strategic partnership with this customer, with their sustainability team. This company has a really fantastic internal sustainability team that's out there trying to drive energy efficiency. This particular facility is 500,000 square feet, includes laboratories, clean rooms, testing, and manufacturing areas. Very, very complex facility. This TA study was really narrowly focused on a 28,000 square foot lab with 5 large air handlers. So similar to a scoping study, a TA study includes a detailed energy audit, partnership with contractors and vendors to develop scope, developing cost and savings for each of the measures, and the documentation that we talked about. This TA study was more of a retro commissioning study, and we identified several sequences in partnership with the customer's internal BAS team and their controls contractor. And this is a graphic of one of those air handlers where you can see there's simultaneous preheating and cooling because they had inefficient sequences and set points. That drove a lot of energy savings, a lot of airflow reduction in this building as a result of this project. Here we show a typical what we call sequence matrix. So for retro commissioning projects, this is a listing of the units. So the 5 air handlers are shown here in rows, and then each column is the sequence that's being implemented as part of this project. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but a lot of typical retro commissioning sequences like supply air reset, airflow reduction, static pressure optimization, economizer, and so forth. One really interesting one was the double zone cooling at the end. This air handler had a cooling coil at the air handler, reheat in the duct, and then a subsequent downstream cooling coil. And all 3 were operating simultaneously, something we had never seen before. Really, really fascinating. So the results of this TA study, just from these 5 air handlers, was about a $200,000 cost between the testing and balancing work, the controls contractors work, and internal support from the customer, driving a annual cost savings of nearly $230,000 with a simple payback of 0.6 years after an incentive offer. This is a pretty fantastic project. You know, most retro commissioning projects, we're happy if they're in the 2 to 3 year payback range. This one was fantastic. This customer is now planning to perform similar retro commissioning across other air handlers in the facility and other multiple facilities that they have. So it's a fantastic kickoff to what hopefully is going to be a great retro commissioning program for this customer. So with that, we'll turn it over to any questions you may have. You're welcome to enter those questions into the chat box. And thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, my name is Jack Paluchek. I'm an energy efficiency consultant with Eversource, and I'm just going to list off the questions that we have currently. The first one is, what kind of resources and expertise can utility companies' energy efficiency programs provide to organizations? Steve, would you like to answer that?
Well, we can provide access to research, analysis, data analytics, and provide you with what industry best practices are this way within your vertical. We've seen a lot of these energy efficiency projects, so we can assist you in bringing what others within your industry are doing. So you're not starting from scratch. These projects are viable elsewhere, so there's no reason they can't translate within your business.
Well put. Another one here that Jeremy just touched on with that amazing payback for that project. How can organizations utilize incentives and funding opportunities to accelerate energy efficiency efforts?
By leveraging available incentives and funding opportunities, organizations can reduce upfront costs associated with energy efficiency projects. It enhances their ROI and accelerates implementation of other energy efficiency initiatives by having that capital to put elsewhere within your program.
We have one here. Through the process of scoping studies for customers, do you find that at times they are disengaged and become engaged as a result of that initial discussion?
Jeremy, would you take this one?
Certainly. Yes. Customers are very often, customers are focused on their mission, right? They're building widgets, they're running whatever business it may be, and oftentimes energy is a distraction. It's not their core business. It's not their core cost, right? In most businesses, their people are their core costs. But energy, you can't really save people costs, right? But energy costs can be reduced So that's one of the biggest benefits of a scoping study, right? Is oftentimes they're no cost to the customer, and it's a way to get your foot in the door, explain the value of the program to the customer, identify opportunities that they didn't know about. A lot of companies are focused on lighting and they understand that, but when you start getting into retro commissioning, complex HVAC, heat recovery, combined heat and power, those things, a lot of customers just don't have the expertise. And by getting in there with a scoping study, we're able to turn over those rocks, identify those opportunities, and get them engaged.
Great answer.
Yep.
We have another one here. What kind of solutions can be offered through a multifaceted approach for commercial and industrial customers?
I'll take that one. The multifaceted approach offers a wide range of integrated solutions tailored to meet the unique needs of commercial industrial customers, such as customized energy management systems, energy efficient equipment, optimization of operational strategies. This allows you to look, as Jeremy said, under the rock. These are not your everyday aspects that you deal with, and it just allows us to come to you and provide you with different solutions that you can bring to your management or your corporate sustainability team. It's not always about the energy savings. Sometimes the driver is corporate sustainability. So it allows you to go within that direction as well.
Yeah, well put. I just want to add a note there too. Chris Patrick mentioned it during the introduction of this webinar, but the NHSaves program likes to leverage our comprehensive program, which offers robust incentives for bundling measures and not just doing one-off projects. So that's another strategy to get the payback down and funding from the utilities.
Good point, Chad.
Yeah, we have one more question here. What are some potential benefits of the strategic partnership, like you mentioned, on sustainability goals and CSR initiatives?
The strategic partnership will enable your organization to develop effective sustainability strategies. It enhances transparency and demonstrates a commitment to environmental stewardship, which can impact your CSR and your brand reputation with your customers and other stakeholders within the business.
Yeah, just another note, we're seeing it more often now than ever is customers are being pressured with thinking about these corporate sustainability measures, and they just don't have time to address them. So that's the benefit of the scoping study, the technical assistance, is that you can get someone else to assist you with thinking about these, and then you get the summary report out of it as well.
Yeah, and what you'll find is in a lot of cases that the end user of the electricity facilities teams, they're driven more by cost reduction. And you'll find that the sustainability is often within another group within EHS or a corporate sustainability team. So sometimes there's a disconnect between the two. So this TA studies and scoping studies are a great opportunity to bring both those teams together to be able to understand what your options are from both an energy perspective as well as a sustainability.
Well put. That's all the questions that we had.
Well, I want to thank everyone for attending today's session, and hopefully you're able to get something up. You got something out of this and be able to take in some of the other sessions as the day goes along. Once again, thank you very much and have a great day.